Battlefield is often associated with a few key characteristics. Large-scale environments, destructible assets, and dynamic warfare are just a few. Now, these, as well as many other characteristics of Battlefield, are why I believe that the game could change the Battle Royale genre for the better. In this video, we're going to break down exactly how they may be able to do that. Long gone are the days of Bad Company's witty humor and outcast soldiers.
No more Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders? Shit. That's torque. Get out of the way! I gotta save me some cheerleaders.
But this was truly the first time that I fell in love with the Battlefield formula. Blowing holes in walls, entire buildings crumbling to the ground, pure all-out warfare that was dynamic and alive in a new and modern way. Now, Battlefield 3 and 4 were no exception. These two entries into the series are hailed as two of the best that were ever created, and even today, 11 years later, they still hold their own amongst many modern-day shooters. This is something the best of Battlefield has always brought its players: modern, dynamic, ever-evolving warfare on a warfront that was alive and constantly shifting. It's the one thing that I always loved about the Battlefield experience as a whole. No matter the role that you chose to play, infantry, tanker, chopper, gunner, medic, it felt like you were a part of something real, something that was alive all around you. Fast forward to today, and this is something that many online multiplayer experiences simply do not have, especially in the first-person shooter, extraction, battle royale space. That isn't to say that the games that we have aren't good, many of them actually are. They simply lack the fundamental characteristic that any immersive game needs, even shooters, which is a living, breathing world that is happening around you in real time. Now, we've reached a critical point where a lot of gamers have mixed feelings these days about the Battle Royale experience as a whole, as it's been a relatively dry genre for some time now. The same 2 or 3 games holding the top spots for years is a big part of this as well. Iterations have been made, that goes without saying. They've been expanded upon and pushed the limits of what BR could be, at least as far as we've seen it up to this point, even entering the realm of fantasy magic, but never quite grabbing a lasting foothold, even in these indie spaces. I personally feel that Battlefield, well executed, could truly deliver a battle royale experience unlike anything that we've played before. Battle royales have always been, and mostly still are, lifeless, stagnant environments where the sole focus is eliminating players. Occasionally you will have a few objectives to complete along the way. This isn't necessarily abnormal or wrong, it makes perfect sense, but it's also gotten to the point to where I feel like we genuinely need something more in this genre of game. It's the same for the extraction-based shooters that largely hold the same spots in a similar universe. You gear up, you go in, you fight to survive or the last man standing, and that's pretty much it. You don't do anything else, and it works, and we've gotten really good at making it work. However, I kind of feel like it's time for something more. Being in a match where the only interaction or event that takes place in this wasteland you're in is encountering another player for roughly 5 to 30 seconds to kill them, well, it's just kind of boring. The downtime between these engagements, the lack of anything to do other than to collect resources for whatever purpose, simply the lack of anything going on around you, other than the wind blowing perhaps in a completely silent, wide open landscape. It's just boring. The Battlefield formula could stand to change this. Now, obviously, there would be limitations in how expansive it could be. We aren't building an open world RPG after all, but we could do so much better than where we are at now. The full throttle gameplay that every Battlefield player knows and loves could transfer into a BR extraction-based world. There are a myriad of infantry fighters engaging in close quarters combat on the ground, vehicles whizzing around the map, jets in the sky, buildings going down, etc., etc. Of course, it would all have to be balanced and implemented on a large scale, a next generation BR, if you will, that would make sense. Points of interest to capture perhaps, and maybe something like points to defend, all while maintaining your one and only life. So how would we do it? What would it look like? I'm not a game dev, that's pretty obvious. I could definitely say a few things about what I think should be done and what I think should be most important based off of other experiences that we have had, but these are things that would be ever ongoing and constantly being tweaked. To start, however, the server infrastructure would have to be top priority. The game would have to be able to support the same type of online multiplayer experience that the Battlefield base game already does, but at a larger scale, accommodating for more people, the same level of destruction, maybe slightly fewer vehicles. But considering the other games that currently inhabit this space that have not invested in their server infrastructure, it certainly has to be a top priority. Vehicles couldn't dominate the BR mode. It would basically just turn it back into multiplayer and everyone would fight to use them all the time. You would practically be guaranteed a win as long as you had the strongest vehicle on the map. So there would need to be a limit in the availability and use opportunity of the vehicles on the map, as well as some tweaking to what the vehicles were actually capable of doing. Now, the map itself, it should be large enough to accommodate 100 to 150 players and offer a variety of ecosystems to fight in. It's extremely boring to walk around a map, especially if the game you're playing only provides one or two, that's basically either just a giant desert or a wide open jungle-esque landscape without much else in between. There's no reason that if multiple maps aren't in rotation with today's technology, that we couldn't have one large map with multiple ecosystems to explore. A tighter knit downtown urban area for close quarters combat, while on the outskirts of the map it was a little more open and barren, catering to sniper gameplay. A minimal and well-balanced weapon system as well would be key for me. Apex Legends does this really well. The guns in Apex Legends don't change often and they rarely add new ones. The attachments for those guns have largely been the same as well since the game's inception, with only moderate enhancements and changes over time, something that Warzone does not do at all. They actually continue to pile on as much useless data and bloatware as humanly possible, which does nothing but eat up memory, clutter the UI, and generally overwhelm the people that have to navigate through the menus to try to decide what to use. A good way to do this would be to add new weapons, and when those weapons are added, phase out older ones and the attachments that may or may not have been made specifically for that weapon. This could be done as a general wave update or simply by removing things that have the lowest overall pick rate. Now, moving on to classes. Classes overall have been a big, heated topic for the Battlefield franchise, and the way that they bring classes back for the multiplayer experience should transfer directly over to the Battle Royale extraction experience. One thing that I've noticed when watching a lot of game announcements, a lot of world premieres when it comes to shooters, is that we haven't really had a shooter game that has displayed itself in a modern, grounded, future tech way. Instead, we're going really far out with a lot of mechanized suits and abilities and jetpacks and just all of this extracurricular stuff that a good grounded modern tactical shooter simply doesn't need. Again, it's not to say that those games are bad, it just seems like we've been missing that, at least in the AAA space. Another thing that is very important to me when it comes to the classes and to the weapons is that there should not be any limit at all on which class can use which weapon. All weapons in the game should be accessible to every class. There should not be a sniper rifle that's locked to the recon class. There should not be an SMG that's locked to the medic class. Now, each class can have their own perks like ammo or health items, a portable radar system, but every weapon in the game should be accessible to every class in the game. My last suggestion for how this could work and some key opportunities to pay attention to, even though this list is not comprehensive by any means, is minimal revival opportunities. One of the bigger gripes about Warzone these days is that there are so many ways to respawn into the game that there's almost no risk. Warzone is an arcade shooter, yes, but Battlefield has always taken a slightly truer approach. Granted, it's not as hard as a game like Tarkov is, but forcing tactics and strategy over slide canceling around every corner because you have a reinforcement flare, a self-revive, and a gulag token all in your back pocket will lend to a more authentic Battlefield feel. I think that Apex overall does this pretty well, with the opportunity being either restricted to support characters who can craft banners, or having to physically pick up a banner and then locate a respawn beacon to bring back your downed teammates. All in all, folks, these are just my thoughts on what the BR genre could be and how I believe that it could be made better. Some, of course, will agree, some will not. The list that I gave, again, is not comprehensive. It could be much longer, it will be much longer. A lot of these things, of course, would change many times over. I do, however, feel that for any game coming into the space, especially one with the moving power of Battlefield, it's a good starting point, a good core foundation that these folks should be focusing on. The biggest thing here for me is that the world that we fight in is a true to Battlefield war. I have no doubt that the campaign and that the multiplayer experience will probably be good. It usually always is. But there's a lot of rumor and speculation that Battlefield will be bringing its own BR mode or something similar to it this time around. They absolutely should, and if they hit a home run with it, it could completely take over this particular portion of the gaming space. The world that we're fighting in, though, has to be dynamic. It has to evolve. It has to feel like we're actually a part of something active that is occurring around us in real time. Tarkov, Warzone, Arena Breakout, Delta Force, all good games in their own right, but they largely fall short in providing a stimulating experience or something that you can't basically run on autopilot between engagements that often don't happen very much throughout the match, if at all. This type of strategy will draw the player in and make them feel like they're actually a part of the world that's been created. Balancing, iteration, tweaking, on and on and on. We're all used to it. We know it's going to happen. We know some things are going to break, and we know some things are going to work. We're going to have to go through the up and downs over and over and over. However, it remains my firm belief and opinion that if anyone can do it, it's the Battlefield, DICE, Ripple Effect, all these guys and gals. They can do it. It's been a long time coming since we've had another installation of the Battlefield title, and I think that everyone at EA and DICE, Ripple Effect, they know that they have to come correct. Battlefield 2042 was largely a flop. They picked it up a little in the end with some polish, but it really didn't do that well. If Battlefield could come through, bring back what everyone knows and loves about it, and knock it out of the park with a brand new experience that most other games have adopted, they could really become the mainstay in today's shooter market. And we desperately need it because games like Warzone, that have largely had zero competition, have all but given up trying to enhance their gaming experience in any way. Thank you folks for watching the video. If you made it through to the end, then I very much appreciate it. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know what you think the Battle Royale genre needs. Let me know what you think Battlefield needs. Drop a like on the video. It's totally free. Feel free to explore the catalog and subscribe to the channel. Follow me over on Twitch as well. There's links in the bio, links in the description of the video. We do stream live there. Let me know what you guys think. I really do have hopes for Battlefield. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, But Battlefield is desperately needed, man. It's desperately needed. Warzone has all but given up. They have no competition in the market. Apex is there. They just released a new season. Apex is a good game, but it's a completely different type of game. We need something in the Warzone, modern, boots on the ground, tactical strategy, just current tech shooter. We need that. Not in the, I know there's games out there in the indie space that provide it. We need something that's a little bit more dynamic. I'm hoping that Battlefield can bring it. I appreciate you folks being here. I'll see you online.